Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes, another week where I hope I don't just sell out of all my comics before I get a chance to read and review them. Gosh, what a selfish comic book store owner I am. I know. But last week, there was some stuff which I would like to have read, but every one of them had sold. We're going to start with Bloodland today, though, and it's from Ignition Press, and being completely honest, Ignition Press have impressed me on occasion, but so far, nothing has made it from being a cool book I read to review to making it onto my pull list. And this isn't like a rarity, most of the stuff I review. I've either already decided I'm going to pull it because it's a creator I love or a concept I like, or I'll read it, review it, and I'll give it a positive review, but it just, I can't buy every comic book that I want to. This is the closest they've come, and I think it's probably one that I'm going to carry on reading if we get spare copies in store, and I'm probably going to check out the trade when it drops because it does a lot I like. It looks fantastic. Storytelling pacing is pretty good for an issue one, but I do have some criticisms. I'm going to start with those first. Not because I feel like I'm going to slam this book too much, but I feel like I want to get them out of the way. Number one, this is a book with vampires in, and I can absolutely understand like a suspension of disbelief with that kind of thing. Yes, there are vampires. Yes, this is like a take on various different bits of literature and mythology through the years, and I'm okay with that. There's a lot of things that happen in the comic book with vampires. You kind of have to be like, right, okay, if that's true, then other things will be true as well. Like, a government, let's say the American government, completely taken over because the president's in charge, has absolutely just gone in with a bunch of absolutely hateful sons of bitches who are going to do absolute harm to as many people as they possibly can because it will maintain his career. And also, there's a woman who had only just given birth, I think maybe between 12 and 24 hours ago, who is incredibly strong and powerful and kick-ass. Now, one of those things I can believe a little bit more than the other, don't get me wrong. But the woman kicking ass, I feel like they wanted to set her up as an absolute badass, but for how long it was after she'd given birth for her then to be impaling a vampire with some rebar, not a sharpened bit of anything, rebar. And then also, and spoilers slightly here, impaling a vampire's skull with a tire wrench. Not like anything sharp about that at all, and yeah, just feels like a bit too much. Secondly, and this one is more of an overarching kind of thing, which I feel like I've seen a few other times, and I think it might just be a me thing, I don't know. But with an issue one, when you're creating a lot of story in a world which is like ours but slightly differently, you can run the risk of dropping too much lore into the first issue. And this one, I think, just goes a little bit too into the tall weeds for that one. There's a whole bunch of different factions within the world, either fighting with the vampires or against them, or somewhere in between, who've basically made allies on either side. And I feel like there's a little bit too much of that being dropped in for us to really get a handle on who they are. Especially, I mean, the last word of the story is the introduction of a brand new faction, which I hadn't heard about until the last page of the comic book. And I feel like there's just it gets a little bit in the way. Not so much I don't want to know this kind of thing, but early on, spend a little bit more time with the characters. Not looking at their motivations in terms of the group they're part of, or the group they're against even, but like, why are they part of that group? What has happened to them? What are their relationships to other people, regardless of their affiliations? I feel like there's room to go in there. But you take those two, to be fair, quite minor quibbles out of the way, it is a banging comic book. It looks fantastic. Matt Chater, really, really solid artwork. A fantastic little mix of slightly scratchy but nicely detailed, not too busy, dynamic action sequences. There's an occasional moment where the background is just a void, which is, again, a minor pet peeve of my own, but it happens few and far between, and the rest of the time is brilliant. The colouring, I don't know if it's Chater as the colouring, it might be somebody else, I can't remember off the top of my head, but the colouring is really, really solid, since so much of it takes place either indoors with fluorescent flat lighting or outside of the evening or into the night. There's a lot of flashlight and artificial light sources, and every one of them is done really, really effectively. And I do think the fact that this is a comic book which is clearly not just about vampires, it's about the state of the world, it's about the world in which the creators live, seen through the lens of vampires. I feel like it does a really good job of that. I mean, I just read earlier the Captain America, the new one by Zdarsky, and he has an almost like identical kind of beat, and it shows how much the world is affecting the people who are creating art within it. And I feel like this is a good thing to get out there. Tell people what's going on. Tell people what your experiences are. Try and find your people through art and try to change some minds through it. And I feel like this could do it. It really could. It is a really solid issue 1. And like I say, the closest thing you should have come to getting me absolutely hooked straight away. B. Claymore, take a victory lap, mate. You've done a really good job here. That's it for me for now, though. Until I see you all again, look after you, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.